co-founded New Lion, and we launched New Lion clear back in 2004. We've been in the, I guess, OTT space. We launched our first network in 2007, and I have some fantastic guests to talk about sports TV everywhere and the interactive viewer. We titled kind of this session The Interactive Viewer because I really believe over the last 3 years especially, there's been a fundamental shift from just simple streaming of video to services that engage viewers, not just with video, but multiple video sources, multiple audio sources, social media, data. Certainly sports has driven a lot of that around how fans interact with sports. I think has been a leader in how you're seeing many things change on the entertainment side in terms of creating interaction. Why is that interactive viewer so important? Well, it certainly drives a lot of engagement. We did about 40,000 live sports events last year. We have about 300 linear channels that we deliver over the top, so to speak. If you look at the NFL on an internet-connected device, the average engagement is close to 3 hours. If you look at NHL Game Center Live, average engagement well over an hour. So long-form programming, live programming, and the way you interact with programming is driving much longer engagements. When those engagements are longer, it gives you a great opportunity to monetize that, either through subscriptions, behind the paywall, kind of like a Netflix model, or transactionally, like you find with Apple TV, or as you'll see from the Big Ten network that many of you might be sitting on right now, lots of inventory, long-form video now opens up a whole cadre of mid-roll opportunities in terms of advertising. So to talk about this subject, I think we definitely have some great speakers, very busy guys that I'd like to have them describe. I'm going to introduce them. They're going to describe a little bit about their digital business and how that business is being monetized. And then we'll have some questions that we're going to ask to kind of go through this topic of the interactive viewer, TV everywhere, driving, engaging, and building audience in digital. We have time for some questions also from the audience as we go through it. So I'm going to introduce each person kind of in order, but maybe as we go through, you can kind of explain a little bit. Seated on the far side here, not in the bleachers, is Chris Schlosser. Chris runs digital media for Major League Soccer and has a product called MLS Live. But Chris, why don't you introduce MLS and some of the things you're doing with digital, and then we'll go around the group.
Perfect. Thanks, Chris. Very nice to be here with all of you this afternoon. As you may know, Major League Soccer is the first division soccer league here in the United States, as well as in Canada. The league was founded in '96 and has been growing like crazy, especially over the last 5 years. Today we have 19 teams spread all over North America, and we've announced that we're adding 2 new teams in 2015, one in Orlando and a second team here in New York City. You may have seen some news this morning about a stadium site. So very exciting times for the league as a whole. We also have the youngest fans of any of the major leagues here in the U.S., very strong in the 18 to 30-year-old demographic, and very multicultural, as you might imagine. We significantly over-index with the Hispanic fan. Work very well with our friends at Univision as well. Digital is critical for us to grow our business. We've been investing very heavily. We started MLS Digital in 2010 when we brought all of our rights in-house from MLB Advanced Media, who'd been doing all of our work previously. And in the last 5 years, we have seen just remarkable growth rates across all of our platforms. As you might imagine, we have a full suite of mobile applications. We have a connected TV strategy that we work very closely with New Lion on. Each season, you can stream 230 of our games across all of these various devices. This year, we basically doubled our subscribers to that platform. It's a $60 a year subscription. Gets you live access and then on demand across one price across all of the various devices. This year, we also, working with the guys at New Lion, started a free live stream of the week. Very friendly to our sponsors and advertisers, and that's been a tremendous way for us to drive interest in the league and to grab subscribers for our live program.
Cool, great. Franz, I'm going to come back to you in a second because I'm going to go through. even though you're the best dressed guy on the panel.
Well, there's like a sock competition between us and the guys
like
with the
that.
social TV guys.
Susie had to
Crazy.
change your camera lens. So I would like to introduce Scott Levine, who's the Senior Vice President for Digital Products at Univision. So Scott, maybe follow the same theme as Chris did in terms of introducing what Univision is doing around digital.
Sure, thank you. Thank you all for letting us join in here today also. As you may know, Univision is a top 5 broadcaster in comparison with the English language programming networks of CBS, Fox, ABC, and NBC. But in addition to that, we're the leading Spanish language destination with univision.com. We've been doing this for many, many years, but when we really focused in, I guess, about 2012, really on the focus of us has been the shift to video. As a company, our tradition, our roots has been in being the heartbeat of Hispanic America, and really moving forward with video and getting video online was what we did in 2012 with the launch of Videos, which is an advertising-supported, TV everywhere supported product. So if you thought that that was the starting point for us for 2012, and that took us into 2013, 2013 became really about one of our core tenets, which is really about sports. And if you're going to pick one sport for us to really focus in on, it's soccer, right? Again, with our friends over here in MLS. And so for us, over the summer with Confed Cup, with Gold Cup, with leading up through the World Cup qualifiers, all the way through to the World Cup draw, and then into next year, the shift has not been just from video, but now it's going to become about live video and consuming of live video on every single device you want it to be. So for us, it's about getting to where our audience is, which is not just those PCs that everybody's using right now, but these magical devices that everybody's carrying in their handsets and their phones and their tablets, because our audience over-indexes incredibly like we've never seen before on this. And so this is where our focus is, and we're actually going to be working with New Lion on a lot of the stuff that's be coming from us over the next year, leading up through and including the World Cup.
Great, thanks, Scott. So Perry Bell to my left is the Vice President, General Manager of Digital Media at Rogers, part of Sportsnet. Probably had the longest commute here, coming from Toronto. Perry, if any of you followed, recently the deal between the NHL and Rogers Media, very big transaction, which Perry will explain among other things. But one of the first big deals that included all platforms in terms of those rights, also included all of Canada. So this whole confusing thing that consumers have, certainly in sports, around in-market, out-of-market, blackout markets, all those things for sports, were all kind of solved in this recent Rogers deal. So Perry, maybe you can introduce Rogers Media and then talk a little bit about that transaction.
Thanks, everyone, for having me here. I work for Rogers. Rogers is a company in Canada that has cable, wireless, and we have a media side with publishing, radio, and television. We are in specialty television, we're in conventional television, but our biggest and highest priority on the media side has been sports. We own the Toronto Blue Jays, we own the stadium in Toronto that the Jays play in, we own 37.5% of the Toronto FC, as well as the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Toronto Raptors. So we've got a very big interest in sports, and now we did this 12-year, $5.2 billion deal for exclusive rights.
That's with a B.
With a B. And we're beginning to peel back that onion exactly of what that deal is going to mean, but it is a very exciting time to be at Rogers in Canada. We are very committed. We are fans of sports ourselves, so we're very excited about the opportunity to try to make this a better experience for the consumer of sports. Because we're not just broadcasting, we're also team owners, we're also ultimate fans. So today I can talk a little bit about some of the stuff we've been exploring. We've done some experimentation in fringe sports like curling. We've done some great OTT as well as TV everywhere with soccer, with premium soccer. I am probably the second biggest cycling fan in this room. I met someone from Adobe who's just as big a fan as me. I'm hoping to do more in other long-tail sports like cycling, so hopefully we'll cover a few of these topics.
Great, thanks. So I say Franz for last because Freewheel and New Line have done some great partnering together. And one of the reasons why I think it's great to have Freewheel on the panel, as we'll talk about, this experience moving more and more to long-form video and the opportunities to build inventory around advertising for live on any device, just like we're used to on television, is a big part of what we've been able to do together. So maybe you can talk a little bit about kind of macro level what's going on with long-form video and how Freewheel supports your clients. Certainly the Big Ten Network is one of those, but as an introduction, that'd be great.
Yeah, and for those of you that aren't aware, again, thanks for the intro. Happy to be here with the rest of the panel. Freewheel's been around, a brief history, about 6 years. A good way to describe it is we help TV companies sell and monetize advertising like they do on television, just in any dynamically capable environment. So a lot of that's been IP in partnership with you guys on, for sporting, episodic content, for broadcasters, MVPDs, and also some of the kind of the best of the made for web, which are also experimenting with longer form and mid form content and mid rolls and pre rolls and more television like experiences. So we've recently announced our usual quarterly monetization report, which talks a lot about long form ad load growth, completion rates, TV everywhere growing 217% year over year. So we're starting to see across our customer base of cable, the cable programmers, broadcasters, MVPDs, and others, both here and in the UK, tremendous growth in long form, digitally consumed, dynamically servable advertising. So we're excited to be part of it.
Yeah, and that dynamic advertising, it sounds technical, but essentially it allows you to move ads in and out whenever you'd like on any device in specific geographic regions, whether you're on smartphone, tablet, or PC.
I think one way to think about it is it brings the best of what has been in sort of digital advertising, the targeting capabilities, data capabilities when appropriate, with the sort of sight, sound, motion of television advertising. So bringing those two together, being able to switch them, ads in and out, being able to redirect sales rights back and forth between MVPDs and programmers in a dynamically sort of capable way, real time, across any device, not just IP anymore, but also soon enough in set-top boxes, like we heard from Rick and Chris from Canoe. So that's all the world that we're living in.
Okay, cool. So maybe I'll ask the first question to the panel is really one around, how do you guys make money, right? This notion of being able to interact with your viewer, I think is, I'm going to propose is key to how you monetize this video. Maybe starting with Chris and coming around this way. Talk a little bit from an MLS perspective about your monetization strategy, because it's a variety. You have a variety of different ways of monetizing the content that you have. Maybe talk about that, and then also, Chris, what features in the parts of that MLS service that you think are key to how you activate viewers?
Sure. I think the first thing to note is for MLS is a growing league. We view our investments in video and content first and foremost as a way to grow the league, to engage our fan base. We're investing not only in live broadcasts, but also in significant premium content creation. We'll create somewhere around 1,600 hours of episodic videos in English and Spanish next year. That'll cover MLS, that'll cover the world of soccer, that'll cover Spanish language soccer. And so for us, it's all about engaging that North American soccer fan. We also love to make money. And the way we make money on our content is twofold. For live games and our really premium content, we have a subscription service. We think $60 for 230 games is a fantastic deal, and our fans have responded very favorably to that. But it doesn't stop with just subscription, and we think ads are a key part of it. We have a very big sales team that sells multi-media packages from jersey sponsorships and stadium sponsorships all the way through to 15-second pre-rolls, whether it's on your mobile phone or on the computer. So we're trying to monetize it in all the various ways that you can.
And Chris, the MLS Live Premium, is anybody, any MLS Live viewers in the audience? If you're interested in MLS Live, email me. We certainly can send you a promo code so you can check it out. But with MLS Live, without getting any subscriber numbers, that product's been around for 3-4 years?
5 years.
5 years, and how's the growth been over that 5-year period?
Hockey sticking. It's unbelievable, and what really started out as a computer program, it was a way to watch, at that time, fuzzy video on your computer and a little screen. Today is all about connected devices, mobile devices. we still generate a lot of viewership on computers, but most of our growth is coming from the mobile platforms. We're up, multiple percentage points in viewing on your phone or on your tablet, and that trend is not stopping, especially amongst our very young fan base.
And what are some of the features in there you think that are sticky that help with, because you have to renew these subscribers and then you got to activate more subscribers as part of that growth, right?
And in 2013, we had a 96% renewal rate from 2012. So the product has been very, very sticky. First and foremost, it's the quality of the video. It has to be there. It has to be HD. It has to be reliable. If you don't have that, nothing else matters. And so you have to do that, and the guys at New Lion do a fantastic job managing all of that for us. Second, we're really starting to move beyond, as Chris led off. It used to be, all right, we're just going to take the TV broadcast and put it on a digital device. But the world is changing, and now using all this great technology, we can start to create whole new experiences. Whether that's chat running next to the live video, whether that's data so that the fan doesn't have to leave the game and they can get really rich information about what's happening on the soccer field. Soccer has never been thought of as a data sport, but we're doing some really amazing things with capturing every touch of the ball. Our guys wear heart rate sensors on the field, and that data is beaming to a tablet that the coach has on the sideline so he can track all of the player performance. And so we're baby steps today, and I think over the next 3 years, really creating a differentiated experience that in some ways over time may be better than just sitting back and watching on your 60-inch TV.
Great. I'm going to swing around this way. So Univision, I would characterize, it's a big company. 3 big areas, I would guess: news, entertainment, sports would be kind of the 3 major parts of Univision. I know you have a very big, Scott, affiliate network, but maybe describe in digital the things you're trying to do around the products and how you're going to convert that into dollars.
Sure. So for us, we look at everything as kind of the perspective of 4 key points for products. The first one is we want to build beautiful products that work everywhere. I love the word beautiful. It makes you feel warm and fuzzy, and should. It's kind of evokes an emotion. And the key point inside of that is that it works everywhere. Most of us are familiar with the curves of mobile usage and how things are going across those platforms. But to echo Chris's point, the usage is beyond hockey stick for us. Earlier this year, or actually only 2 months ago, we did the Mexico game against New Zealand, and it was the top digital streaming event for us since the last World Cup. And most of that usage was on a mobile device, on a mobile platform. That usage and that encouragement of the audience that wants to find it there is incredible. So that's the first one. Second one is a commitment to video. I think Chris's point was spot on with, it has to be there. It always has to work. It's like turning on your television. It must just turn on, but it also has to be something that's about engaging. When you're on a 3G network, you need to be able to watch the game, and especially on a mobile phone, that's really important. So our core, our tenets of who we are as a media company really goes back to give the consumers, give our audience video everywhere that it needs to be. The third point is really about social products, that our audience, Hispanic America, over-indexes on an epic level on social engagements, whether that's tweets, whether that's posts on Facebook, whether that's photos on Instagram, and letting their voices be heard. And there's no better place to do that than in sports, right? You see my team versus his team. I'm a Chivas fan. I'm going to scream at the top of my lungs about how awesome they are. And then finally, it's about bringing it back to the money. It's about bringing solutions that work for our partners, whether that be a media partner in advertising, whether that's pre-roll videos, and we work a lot with the Freewheel guys on doing stuff like that, to working with our distribution partners, the MVPDs, to making sure they're part of it with a TV Everywhere solution, to working with other companies and engaging them in new, innovative ways. It's not just about pre-roll videos. It's about in-stream interstitials. It's about engaging the audience in experiences that really bring both brands and consumers together, and our content. And when you can do all 3 of those things together, you really have a winning solution. So that's where we spend a lot of our time on, is bringing that kind of message together.
So Scott, your viewers are, for the most part, subscribers that have a pay TV relationship, right?
Yeah, for the most part, right? We work very closely with our TV Everywhere partners, most of the major MVPDs, to being able to deliver content, and then beyond, right? Most of our usage that we're starting to see is on a mobile platform, and that's incredible. So when you start seeing consumers that are just watching a 3-minute highlight or a clip or a recap, it's not just the long form, it's the short form that's driving that type of usage. And that creates new monetization opportunities for all of us, right? Whether that be, again, pre-roll videos.
And that's not subject to the traditional economics of television, right? In terms of the relationships with the MVPDs and others, or is it?
It's part of how we work. We work with those partners every single day, right? That's one of the big things that we do at Univision. We spend a lot of time with our MVPD partners to make sure that we deliver content that works for them, for us, and again, for our media partners, our advertisers. Because when you do that well, we hit it on all cylinders, and that's a great thing.
And I'm one of those partners. I'm a Cablevision subscriber. So maybe I'm in the space. This whole thing of authentication has never really been a big challenge for me. I know I have to remember my Cablevision log on and my password, and that's how I get access to all the great things at Univision. But I think you have a viewpoint on how sports, I think, is really helping with the average fan, really come to grasp more easier with this whole authentication, right, and how they get access.
You got it. I think live sports are the biggest single thing that can help us to drive TV Everywhere adoption. I mean, we saw it in the past with the Olympics. We're going to see it again probably with the Olympics in a few months. And then we're going to see it in a great level with the World Cup next summer. And it's such a great way for us to work with those partners and to deliver a great experience. It's a little something that we as an industry have to work on and make it easier for consumers to get in and get over that first hurdle to getting in there, and then unlocking all this potential for them on this content that's available. And that's something that we're all focused on. It's part of the reason we partner with New Line. It's part of the reason that we partner with lots of industry leaders to make this a great experience. Remember, my first starting point every single day when I wake up is build beautiful products. So we have to do that for our consumers, and that's where we start with this.
I'll come back to Perry in a second. So Franz, so Univision rolls out, this great usage is going up, engagement is going up. What are some of the things that Freewheel does? Because you guys are partners already, but how do you engage to kind of start to monetize all that inventory?
I think it depends a lot on sort of keeping it beautiful, right? Because you need to keep it beautiful for the consumers, which is a lot of what you're working on, but the ad experience needs to be beautiful for consumers, especially in live sporting events, where in TV, you've kind of had these fixed ad placements over time where it's, every ad is cut exactly to the hundredth of a second, to a 30 or 15 second spot, and you get a seamless, perfect experience, especially in live sports. And those ads have been, baked in and been ready to go for days in many cases. In a dynamic environment, you need to apply that same sort of level of rigor around forecasting and operations and QA of creative, so you please not just the consumer so they get a TV-like experience which they might be used to on TV, but also obviously the advertiser, not just in the visual experience but in actual delivery, right? And I think that's where we do most of our work in these live events, and then also being able to adjust ad loads up and down dynamically for short form or mid form, or if you're undersold or oversold in a particular chunk of inventory, turning it up the ad load for a period of time so you can catch up and hit your financial goals, and then turn them back down to avoid user burnout in terms of ad loads and completion.
And that experience is important because a lot of that happens server side and not player side. So the ad experience of dynamically moving in and out of ads, back to live programming, back to just like you would expect from regular television.
Yep.
Also, is very important to how those ads get experienced by the consumer, right?
Yeah, and I think another big factor is how you operate it, right? We've had traditional television sort of organizations very separate from the digital side of the house, and applying, again, that same level of rigor to, especially now that it's TV everywhere, it's the same content, it's long form, it's a hugely important tentpole live event, tons of concurrent users, lots of exposures across multiple devices, making sure that your ad operation is in sync with the way that it's supposed to be in television, is what we're starting to see evolve amongst our broadcasters and programmers.
So I'll jump in as the Canadian who's supposed to be polite, and I'll actually call bullshit on all of us in terms of we are saying mobile is very important, yet how many people have a responsive built website that's actually putting mobile design first regardless of your screen? Yeah, you do, and some people do and some don't. The experience is really important. The advertising experience right now, sports is a little different in terms of for the long form linear, in terms of it is that same content. But on short form content, the 30-second forced pre-roll, the panel two earlier where they were talking about the experience on a you guys call them DVRs here, we call them PVRs. Being able to skip content on your television or change the channel, we're creating an experience digitally that's actually worse than what it is on traditional platforms. It's mind-boggling, but we're doing that. We continue to do it. It's not good for the end client, for the agency, or and we continue to go down that path. So I think we're on the dawn of a new time where I do believe that we are going to need to change because the market is going to force us to change. But we will change only when we have to.
I agree with you there. I think we are delivering content in all new ways, which is fantastic. But it's still, I think, confusing and challenging for the users to figure out, do they go to the Univision app? Do they go to the MLS app? Do they go to the Comcast app? Do they go to, where can they find the game that they want to watch? And which account do I need? Do I need the MLS account? Do I need the, my TV account? So
is the NSA going to track my login or something?
And then
I think we have a long way to go in smoothing that out. But what we hear from our fans every day is, I want the game and I want it on whichever device I happen to have with me at that point in time.
Yeah, wherever I am, I want to watch this.
And so in terms of, in Canada we have a little different because all the major media companies are also owned by the major communication companies. So we have vertical integration, which makes life a little harder as the GM of Sportsnet. I really care about my Sportsnet subscriber, and I really don't care if they come from a Rogers cable or from Bell cable or from Shaw, those are our big ones in Canada. I care that they want to be connected to my brand, but I also have to be sensitive that there is no Rogers Media stock listing on the exchange. It's Rogers, and it's all part of it, so we have to do things to make sure we operate as one company.
I actually want to expand on the Sportsnet business model because I think it's a unique model. And you have the flexibility at sports. So Sportsnet being a sports, seven linear channels?
We've got eight linear channels, a magazine, and radio stations in various places in the country. So 5 platforms.
Okay, and so one side of the Sportsnet model is the affiliate side. The other side of the Sportsnet model is a kind of a B2C model where you can actually connect, go direct to consumer with a credit card and activate them. So I think that's interesting that you have the flexibility to do both. Maybe Perry talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, that again speaks to the challenge with really connecting to our audience would be, I think there would be, in the US you would see ESPN going out and offering a little more OTT and HBO Go, which I think they're playing with in Scandinavia where they're actually doing some connection directly with consumers. We're playing with a little bit on some products. With Premium Soccer, we do offer it's an expensive add-on to your cable. It's a little more expensive to add it on or to buy it separately with us, but we're giving soccer fans an opportunity to go directly to our brand to capture the BPL, for example, or many of the Champions League and a bunch of great content. In ways that haven't been done before. And I mentioned curling as well, which we've done it in curling, and it was a great start. We had about 60 people subscribe. But it speaks to one of the points that Franz brought up. It's really important that we're shifting, and we used to be really focused on a TV company and a digital company over there, and we're having to come together. We're being forced to come together out of necessity. And it's been amazing to watch. The TV people are learning words like agile. And they're learning, we're saying things that we actually do need to do minimum viable products and put them out there for them to fail fast so we can pivot. That's never been understood. So I sit on the senior leadership team for our broadcast group, and they're actually needing to change the way they do things based from a startup mentality, which is, I think it's really exciting. And I think it bodes well for us to actually be able to react to the changes that are coming.
But it's a huge cultural shift, right? I mean, what we've seen working across all the broadcasters, basically, and many of the cable programmers and their MVPD partners is, you've got someone who's in charge of television, either ad sales or content, and then the related sort of technology and support functions. And now those executives are at home, right? They're watching the sporting event live on their traditional sort of cable delivery system. They've got their iPad up. They're watching the same experience, the same game at the same time, and they're comparing the two. And if I'm head of television, I want to make sure that I'm getting the best experience again for consumers and advertisers in experience on both ends. And that doesn't always happen in digital, right? I mean, what we're seeing is that the television executive leadership are taking over, right? And especially when it comes to if this content is part of the television ecosystem. So that's a big shift.
You see in the
but it's
world-
happening, much more aggressively across all of our programmer and
Franz,
TV
you say the
partners.
television, so you're talking about the broadcast folks getting more involved with the digital folks, those teams coming together. Is that
Yeah,
what you mean?
operationally from sales especially, beginning to sell the campaigns together, a linear campaign that can run obviously linearly on Nielsen rated and Nielsen currency, but then digitally and dynamically delivered in set-top boxes and iPads and browsers and everything
And
that
then-
we're doing. It's the same thing we're doing with you guys and Fox, right? But that might be a linearly sold campaign, but digitally operated. But all of those are coming together.
And there's a lot of growth there. I don't know if any people here are from the agency side, but if you are, the people outside of Canada, when you guys make a 30-second commercial, and if you haven't cleared the music for digital outside of the U.S., then we've got big problems. And so that's also a workflow issue where we're trying to actually, we are trying to be the same on all platforms and give an experience, but it's not being thought of holistically. So TV buyers in the agency world are now being asked, you have to also buy digital, and they don't know what the hell to do. It's different metrics. They're trying to find out what the KPIs are that they should be following. I mean, the engagement metrics that you've mentioned there, we hit. The shift to mobile is happening. ESPN had it last month. We had it in Canada now at Sportsnet, where we've now hit more unique visitors on mobile than we do online through the mobile web, and that's not even combining apps and whatnot. So that shift is happening, but we're not clearing the rights for all those platforms to be able to do the creative things that we'd like to do as well. So please help.
Without a doubt, the most successful sports sponsors today are fully integrating their campaigns. We have a campaign with AT&T called the AT&T Goal of the Week, where fans can vote on which goal they think is the best. That runs on ESPN, it runs on Univision. We run it on our apps, we run it on our mobile sites, we activate it in stadiums, we activate it on the LED field boards. Every week in, week out, that's one of the most popular things we have, and AT&T just comes right along for the ride in everything that they do. And so that, to me, is a great example of a very forward-thinking sponsor saying, we have this great platform, and we're going to activate it on absolutely everything. But it was a challenge, because there's a digital agency, there's a sponsorship agency, there's a broadcast agency. We have a digital sales team and a sponsorship sales team, and so we had to work through a lot of different pieces to get that one campaign together.
Think about some questions you want to ask, because I have time to take a couple of questions. Chris, I'm going to come back to you in a second to talk about devices. I'm going to talk a little bit about the experiences. What devices do you see your fans kind of connecting to? I know we said a lot about mobile, but there's more than just mobile devices that are out there. But Scott, on this notion of being able to have different strategies for monetization, right? Whether you go through a partner that's a pay TV operator, you go direct to consumer. There's a pretty big demographic of people out there that don't have a pay TV relationship. It could be a great audience for you guys to connect to.
Yeah, and today, when we look at the Univision audience, we look at both how many people have cable subscriptions and satellite subscriptions and how many don't. And when you start looking at how you deliver the content to them, it's really important to find that balance between, TV everywhere, making sure the consumers understand how they get in there, finding alternative methods for short form, to your point earlier, Ron's, about finding short form content that we can deliver to the audience, to other tiers that are in the future. And I think, the point that we're all kind of coming back to here is that the market itself is very, very early on how we're going to grow this type of engagement. And I think a lot of these new monetization opportunities are going to be there, whether that's subscription tiers in the future, whether that's advertising tiers in the future, whether that's simple ones of dynamic overlays on videos or interstitials in chats or interstitials with social. This is where all the fun starts to happen, really. And this is where we're going to see huge leaps in innovation in the next couple of years. So, part of the reason I keep stressing this of like we're trying to work with industry-leading partners like New Line, like Freewheel, is because when you start trying to do these things, you got to do them at scale. And that's where we're going to start leveraging each other to help kind of build this audience, whether that be TV everywhere, whether that be pre-roll, mid-roll, interstitial videos with ad pods and everything dynamically ad served there, whether that be subscription tiers, whether that be TV everywhere tiers. It's all that together to be able to make that easy.
And it's complicated, right?
It's complicated right now, and I think everything is complicated. When we were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, if you had asked me, hey, would we be able to push mobile video like seamlessly like that? No, right? But now we're at the point where that's actually becoming the reality. So let's start working together to figure out the new and exciting things that we can do together. It's, like I said, it's going to be a very fun time for this stuff.
So, Chris, what are fans watching your stuff on, device-wise? I mean, I know the ranking, but just to talk a little bit about it. And then I have a point I want to make about the game consoles.
Sure. Every new device that comes out, within hours of it being announced, I get an email from a fan saying, hey, when are you going to be available on whatever the platform is? For us, mobile is the key kind of extended device today, as we've talked about. It's the one that's driving the most usage, but we also have tablet apps. We have an Apple TV app. We have a Panasonic app. We have a Roku app. You'll see us add additional platforms in 2014. And we're always evaluating. If something starts to scale with the public, we want to be there. We want to be able to engage our fans on that platform. But quite frankly, it's a challenge for a growing league. Maintaining custom-built apps on all of these various platforms is a challenge. And at some point in the time in the future, there's going to have to be some other method of than just building constantly new custom apps. Because the minute you finish the app, by the way, there's a software update or a next version or whatever, and you're back in there, redoing it. So you're constantly investing in it. And we love to do that because, we feel like we are creating best-in-class experiences. But at some point in time, I think the content owners are going to say, we have to be able to standardize this stuff. There have to be frameworks that work across multiple of these platforms. You saw Netflix recently do a lot to standardize their look and feel across all of the various platforms, and I think that's something that's really interesting. And you can only do it so much. I mean, Roku has their standard, Apple TV has their standard, and you have to play within their rules. So I think this is an evolving area for us.
Or you say, I'm not going to build an app until it reaches X usage threshold, and then I'm not going to
Which we do. I mean, you have to.
Right. Or I'm not going to monetize it until it reaches X threshold, right? So experimentation versus sort of production.
And I think there's an opportunity also for working with some of these partners to try new things, right? Everybody here is tried and true on an iPad or an iPhone app or an Android device, but Xbox One just launched, and we just launched an app with them. So that's going to be a great experience for us to try some new things there that will leapfrog and set us up for the next generation of mobile devices and so on. So it is challenging, but it's also the flip side of that. You get to try some new things every single day.
And the Microsoft announcement's pretty interesting if you follow. That Xbox One has a frame rate that's twice the speed of regular broadcast television. Twice. So you get a 6 megabit feed, NFL, twice the frame rate on an Xbox One, all with voice commands, with the ability to bring up, ways to connect with your buddies through social media. Really great experience, right? And I think creates another opportunity to kind of build around this interactive viewer, which was, one of the topics of this session. Really cool stuff.
Yeah, I think what we are looking at when we're starting to play with the Xbox One, and one of the reasons we got very excited about this was this notion of bringing the audience, the viewers, the statistics, the video streams, all the experiences together into one immersive environment. And whether you want to watch the game on your Xbox One or watching it on Univision or doing it in another experience and playing with your mobile phone, that's where you start seeing these great new user behaviors.
Right, and just to put some statistics on it from our end, right? So we're tracking the number of video ads that are happening in tablets and mobile phones and browsers and OTT. And in our latest report, I think it was 53% of all video ads against long-form content was happening in OTT environments, where OTT is, a Roku and Xbox and internet-connected television, right? So basically a big screen. So that's a big change, and it was a big increase, from the year prior, and a lot of that data is available free on our site, so you can see that for yourself.
Cool. I'm going to ask the panel in a second, just giving you a heads up. a little bit about kind of some forward-looking things that you see coming up over the next year. I don't like to go out any further than that because
It's a time for predictions.
it is prediction time. It's always time for predictions, but no more than 12 months out. Any questions at all from the audience? Yes. The microphone is on its way over. State your neighbor's name.
This is Lucas. I'm Dan Akins. No, I have a question for the sports type apps. How many of your users either want to use those apps in stadiums watching the current game that they're doing or watching other content, and what are the challenges there and how important is that?
So for us, we do see fans using our apps in stadium. Soccer, it's not necessarily to watch the game on your app in stadium because it's such a fluid game, but it is near real-time highlights. That's critical. Hey, I missed that call. I want to go back and see what that looks like. The other thing that we're seeing a lot of, the great thing about having a wireless network in the stadium is you can track what's going on that network. And what really is happening is fans are sharing their experience. They're posting Instagram pictures, they're posting Facebook, they're posting Twitter. That's what they're doing. They're bragging about the fact that they're there in the stadium, and that is something we absolutely want to enable, because what better marketing than your fans saying, hey, check out this amazing MLS crowd in one of our cities.
I'm glad you said that, because I was about to use bullshit again, interacting with your apps. It's all about the selfie. People are using their phones to take selfies and posting it. I mean, it is an open question too in terms of, I don't know about in the States, but we do have challenges with the connectivity at stadiums where they're not actually able to handle.
We do too.
Yeah, so that's also a real challenge, but that is something else I think is going to change and progress, and to try to increase the engagement while in stadium. It's definitely on the roadmap.
I'll be at the Knicks game tonight, and it's rare I can even get a text message out, right? I mean, it's that infrastructure is still kind of an issue there.
We're actually very worried about that. We think, especially for that young millennial fan, that may eventually be a deterrent to coming to the game if they can't share that experience. So much of their life is about sharing where they are and what they're doing. I mean, you've all been to a concert recently, and everybody has the phone up. That if for some reason that doesn't work, we wonder if the kids will say, you know what, I'm either going to watch at a bar or I'm going to go do something else. And so something we're focused very heavily on.
Another question from the audience? Yes.
You've talked a lot about second screen experiences, but I'm curious about integration with the main screen. Have you had any successful stories about that, or hit any roadblocks due to technology?
Define the main screen.
Meaning like your main screen in the TV in your home.
TV connected to a set-top box.
Yes, exactly.
So for us, a lot of the story that we keep telling is about how we bring all these platforms together, whether it's linear and digital. And for us, it started actually a lot of those integrations with social. And so we've been doing a lot of work on bringing social engagement, especially when people are talking about what's going on, right to screen, and bringing both fans, advertiser partners, all into that kind of circle. And it's been really successful for us, both from a sports perspective, news perspective, entertainment perspective, all around. So the kind of completing that circle, it's one of the things that we pay a lot of attention to, of how we keep the fans, how we keep our audience engaged, again, on whatever screen you want. We want you to be part of that experience.
And the experimentation is definitely happening into that big screen. So Major League Baseball is a great example. We produce a pitch predictor now, even on Fox as well in the U.S. The locations of the screen is getting used more for more information, more stats, more real time, and that's based on the expectation of that coming from other platforms for sure.
Okay, we got about 5 minutes left, so maybe we'll go around the horn, so to speak, from kind of outlook, predictions next year. What are new things that you're working on at Major League Soccer, Chris?
First and foremost, soccer will be huge next year. World Cup, I think that's a gimme.
You got to increase the ad load in those soccer games, right? There's like one break.
One break.
It's terrible.
And from a technology standpoint, I think we will cross 60% of our consumption on a mobile device versus on a PC. We're at 52 today, so.
For us, we're doing a lot of work in and around with programmers and MVPDs around sort of set-top box dynamic insertion. I think that's finally, right? In this industry, we've been talking about it for
dangerous
years,
world. It's pretty
but I
closed
do
off,
think
right?
there's going to be serious advancements kind of middle of next year.
I'm hoping for flying cars, really. for us and where we are at, it's all about hockey next year, and we're hoping that this is actually going to be a catalyst for other good fan experiences in terms of trying to clear up some of the confusion that fans don't understand why they can't watch the content because there's a blackout and things like that. So we're going to be spending the next 8 months getting ready for next October, and for 12 years beyond, there's going to be a long shift. Mr. Bettman put his hand on my shoulder when we announced it and said, you guys in digital are going to be very busy because in 5 years this deal will become really clear that it's not a television deal. And so we've got a lot of work ahead of us. So that's from my area what's going to happen.
To kind of tag on to that, I agree with NHL. This whole interactive viewer, I see more and more of that happening over the next year, which is going to drive more opportunities either for ad or other forms of monetization. If you haven't watched NHL Game Center Live, just to give you a sense of things you can interact with, you can get a home video feed, depending on who your favorite is. You can get an away video feed, depending on your favorite, a home audio feed, an away audio feed. You can bring in all the live stat feeds, which include live line changes. You can render everything on a virtual ice rink, and you can go back and look at highlights based on goals, shots, saves. You can sort that yourself. You can bring up your Twitter log on top of everything I just said. So that is a form of interaction that is going to happen more and more and more, and I think that actually changes the experience of that one-way conversation with television, which is the big screen, because of the way, certainly, I'm not in that demo, but certainly younger audiences really aspire to connect and interface and be interrupt-driven, and I see more and more of that happening.
I think, can we have a side of fries with that too? That'd be fantastic. I think for us, it's really going to be about that blend of making beautiful experiences that are really easy for consumers to get into, especially around when we start bridging that gap of making it easy for TV everywhere, making it easy to monetize the content, bringing our partners along, and making the audience really be singers for all the types of content that we're going to have here. Once we make that easy, I think that's going to be the next year, is really cracking the nut on bringing that experience that's a fantastic, beautiful experience for all of us.
Agreed, guys. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your attention. Appreciate it.